what did this happen? So how did you manage to change your job? Like, how did you manage to gather the courage, or um what gave you that strength, I would say, to change your job and go to a better one that you think that is fit for you?
The only advice I would give them is that they need to know their contract. They need to understand, they need to know what duration the contract, the contract terms and the duration. Let's say, for example, you have a contract of 2 years or a contract of 1 year, then it is determined. But if you have a contract with an undetermined duration, then that's an opening. And the Romanian government advises on the open term or open-ended contract with undetermined duration, as in a bid to protect the rights of foreign workers.
Okay.
Yes, that is the reason the Romanian government encourages this, to protect the rights of the employee.
Okay.
So that
Hi, Nebaneche.
Hello, Cynthia.
How are you doing?
Oh, I'm all good. And you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm okay. The last time that we made a video, I think it's like 4 months now that we made that video, right? It's in March.
We did that. Yeah, I think that was in March.
Yeah.
Last March. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm happy to have you back.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, so how are you? How is life? How is work? How is everything?
Well, everything is fine by God's grace.
Mm-hmm.
He's been strengthening. He's been
Okay.
providing. He's been keeping me healthy.
Okay.
And yeah, everything is all good.
Yeah, I myself, everything is all good with me. I'm actually on holidays now. I had 3 weeks holidays. This is the first week getting finished. The next one will be after next week. I'll return back to work. But yeah, so far everything is okay.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, well, on this video, I'm not going to talk much. I just want you to encourage our brothers and sisters, to make them understand that no matter the fact that we are in a foreign land, we still have rights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we still have decision on our own. The last time that I spoke to you, you told me that you changed your job, meaning that the one that you were doing, you felt like, okay, this is not what I want to do. I think I have like um a better opportunity in another company.
Yeah.
Some people will not have that courage to change their job, even if their job is not comfortable for them, but because they have fright, they are afraid, they'll just decide to stay back. That I don't want to change it, or what if my manager says so? What did this happen? So how did you manage to change your job? Like, how did you manage to gather the courage, or um what gave you that strength, I would say, to change your job and go to a better one that you think that is fit for you?
Well, you know, there is a saying that um, go for what suits your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Go for what suits your heart. And in going for what suits your heart, sometimes we will definitely face adversity.
Okay. Yeah.
But then the adversity can always be minimized. It is always important to know where we come from and to know what legal rights we have in a country where we currently live. We need to understand the legal process. We need to understand what it takes to be able to change jobs at any given time. We get employed by an employer and we do sign contracts. And those contracts that we sign by the employers always have the terms well stipulated. For any individual to be able to leave a company and to get into that job that they feel is their dream job, that they are passionate about, they need to understand the laws of the country first. Because some countries, every country has its laws when it comes to employment. The employment laws in countries vary. Yeah, there is a great difference from country to country. So when I got to the point that I felt uncomfortable with my previous job, I realized that it was important to get into a job that was more related to my field of studies. I hold a Bachelor of Arts in English and French Studies, and I always dreamt of becoming a translator and interpreter. But then, while back home, I was a teacher of English and French language, which I did for over 3 years. With all that experience, I felt that the field in which I was working was becoming a bit more of a health challenge to me, because I had to do a lot of manual work, which would sometimes result in back pain, constant headaches, constant stomach aches, and I mean, I would go for weeks without feeling okay. But then I still had to work because I needed the money. Until I came to a point where I could not take it anymore. And I had to go online and try to apply for jobs and see if I could get a job that is related to my field of studies. But then I had some discouragements coming in from friends and former colleagues, and even from some of the company staff, that it won't be possible for me to leave the job. So all I had to do was to get back to my contract, to read the contract, and to go online and get the Romanian labor law and read it and make sure that I understand it perfectly. So when I went to the website, I searched the Romanian labor law, I read it, Article 53, I read it as though I was preparing for a bar exam. So I had to ensure that I understood it clearly so that I do not make mistakes. So after understanding what it said about the legal rights of an employee, even about the right to resign from a job, about the notice period and all of that, I had to go back to my contract and try to do some comparison. And I that I actually had a contract which had its terms well stipulated, and the conditions for resignation were clearly stated, and there was nothing stopping me from resigning at that point, because I had worked already for about 9 months at that company, and coupled with my health issue, because my health was deteriorating at the moment, because I was having these constant headaches and back pains and all this that I told you about. I realized it was about time that I got a job that would give me the opportunity to to work at the comfort of not at the comfort of my home, because that's the kind of job that I always dreamed of. Because as a freelance translator, there were some months where I worked from home entirely, and I never had anything to do with the office. So when it came to that point, I understood the contract, I understood the Romanian labor law, and that's when I made up my mind that okay, all I had to do was to pen down a letter of resignation and to submit at the human resource, stating that I would have to work for the next 22 days.
21 days.
Well, the contract states 22 days.
Yeah, okay.
So I told them I'll have to work for the next 22 working days, and then on the 29th of July, I will stop. So yeah, I went to the human resource office and I submitted the resignation letter. She asked me a couple of questions on my reasons for resigning, which I told her were already well stipulated in the contract. And she had to go through the contract herself, and she found that okay, I had some reasons for wanting to resign. So that's how I went about it until I resigned, and I started working for this multinational, which offers me the opportunity, the privilege of working both from home and from the office. And I think it's been really great so far. The switch has been a tough one,
Okay.
But then, one thing I admire about myself is that I am always open to learning new things and to adapting to new atmospheres and environments, and for getting to do things as expected of me. So, yeah, I have gotten to that point, and I'm really glad that I was able to leave my former company and to get to where I am today. I am not saying that the company was bad. I'm not saying that the company was horrible. I'm not saying that the company was. I mean, it was a great company, and I really felt the honor and privilege working for them. It was really a pleasure because I would rate I would rate the company 3 on 4.
Okay.
Definitely, I would definitely rate them 3 stars on 4, or maybe 3.2 stars on 4, because they offered some privileges which most companies here in Romania do not offer.
Okay.
Yeah, they offered some privileges like the meal ticket, the transport to work and from work, and the salary was equally really considerable, which most companies I have found in Romania do not offer those privileges.
Okay.
So the only reasons that I had to leave were due to the health challenge I told you about, and also due to the work schedule, which was so a bit inconvenient for me. But apart from that, I think everything else was really amazing, and I am glad that they were able to understand with me and to let me go. So, I would like to say to anyone out there who is watching us, it's not about waking up one morning and deciding that, okay, I have to resign from my company because someone else did it and nothing happened. First, you need to understand the reason. There has to be a reason behind your resignation. There has to be a reason. And it's not just about waking up and not feeling okay, okay, I think I need to leave this job because I'm not okay. You need to understand what the contract states.
Yeah.
If you have a
Very
contract
important.
with a valid period, let's say a contract for 1 year or 2 years, you should ensure that you respect that uh, duration of time in order not to get into problems.
Yeah.
Because if you do not respect the contract, then your employer has the right to take you to court, and then you will have to pay a heavy fine for that, or you might even risk going back, being sent back to your country. Yeah, if you were found guilty of violating the contract. So it is important to understand these things and to avoid getting caught in the dragnets of the law.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
when you violate the law, then you have no backing, because the law is your backing in any country where you find yourself. And when you break the laws, you have no backing anymore. So I would advise that if at all you feel like you just don't want to work in your company anymore, try to discuss it with your employer. It is important to discuss it with your employer. Let him know that these things. Uh, Let your employer know that you're not comfortable with a couple of things, and then they can see how they can try to make amends, rather than just waking up one morning and deciding to stay home, and for 1 month you don't go to work and then you consider yourself resigned.
Yeah.
That's a trap that many people fall into, and then they find
Find
themselves
yourself
in trouble.
In trouble. Yeah.
So just don't do it that way. There is a legal procedure to follow, and that legal procedure is well stated in your contract. So make sure that you go through your contract, you understand it, you know the terms of resignation, you know the terms of work, what it's stated in the contract. If you find that your employer is violating it in any way, then you can approach them either by writing a letter to them or by talking to them in any way, so that they can try to sort it out. If they don't sort it out and you feel like you want out, then they won't have any reason to withhold you, because the Romanian uh, labor law stated clearly that if the contract terms are violated, then you have the right to resign.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
should ensure that you read the labor law, you understand it, and then you can then proceed with caution.
So, Eneche, at the point where you were getting your resignation at the company, how did your co-workers, I mean, our Cameroon brothers that you're working with, how did they feel about it?
Well, it was a period of anxiety, it was a period of confusion. The atmosphere was really tense because I told a couple of them, especially my colleagues at the apartment at the time, I told them that I was leaving. And they asked so many questions. They told me it was impossible. They told me it
Yeah.
was not possible to leave. They said, okay, you won't leave because the company brought you here, the company owns you, the company can determine when you leave or not. Uh, I mean, they tried everything possible to stop me from leaving. But then, we are not the same. We are not built the same way. They have the resistance to do some certain things, but then at some point I realized that I didn't have that resistance anymore. So it was but normal for me to want out. So all I just told them is that I understand what the law says, I know my rights, and I'm just going to do what is legal. I am not breaking any rules, I am not violating any protocol.
Yeah.
I am just going by the law, and that by the law I will achieve what I seek to achieve.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate the fact that the company, the human resource, understood that, and she made the document. She prepared the documents for me, and I was able to collect them in time to submit at my new company, which is a very good thing. So it's just to understand the terms. When you know the terms of the contract, when you know the do's and the don'ts, when you know where the boundary is,
Yeah.
yes, you go by the rules, and everything is easy. It's quite easy to resign, but it's complicated. It's easy but complicated.
Yeah, just
think
I need to follow the right procedure. You need to know the right thing,
Definitely,
the right thing to do.
definitely.
So before resigning from your former job, did you get the opportunity to apply for other jobs already? Did you already have an employer that was ready to employ you into his or her company before you finally tabled your complaint to resign?
Well, yes, I had I had gotten a job. I had secured a job at my former company, at my present company rather.
Yeah.
I had secured the job already. I had signed the offer letter, and that's when I deposited my resignation letter. So there was no clash. Everything was done legally, because after that period of resignation, I had to stay home for some months and waited for my new work permit to be out. Meanwhile, my present company at the time, my former company, was preparing my documents, my resignation documents, and they issued them to me in time for the submission at my present company. So everything was done in an amicable way, and everything was just, yeah.
So what would you advise someone if they have to change their company, if they feel like what they are doing is not for them? Maybe they can offer something better, but because they are scared or they are afraid as what before, because I understood from what you just said that before you wanted to resign, your co-workers, your brothers, they were like, oh, you cannot leave this company, the company owns you. So how will you advise people that have that kind of mindset, or people that have that fear in them?
Well, I won't. I won't just tell them, "Hey, go and resign."
Yeah,
But
yeah.
what I would tell them is that they need to understand that they have rights. They have rights
An employee.
as employees here in Romania, and even at the company, the employer knows that they have rights. So they just need to understand that the employer might not uh, just tell them you have this right, you can resign at this time or whatever, because all this is already stated in the contract.
Mm-hmm.
So the only advice I would give them is that they need to know their contract. They need to understand. They need to know what duration the contract, the contract terms and the duration. Let's say, for example, you have a contract of 2 years or a contract of 1 year, then it is determined. But if you have a contract with an undetermined duration, then that's an opening. And the Romanian government advises on the open term or open-ended contract with undetermined duration as in a bid to protect the rights of foreign workers.
Okay.
Yes, that is the reason the Romanian government encourages this, to protect the rights of the employee.
Okay.
So that if at some point you do not feel wanted, you do not feel fine or comfortable at the job, you can discuss it with the employer.
Mm-hmm.
And if he is willing, he will let you go. If he's not willing to let you go, then he will try to improve on the working conditions.
Okay.
He will improve on the salary. If at all the salary was not according to the contract, the agreed salary on the contract, then he will try to work on those things so that you get to feel comfortable and he's comfortable, and then all party wins. So all the parties win in the end. So you should understand this and try to avoid rushing to resigning just because you felt that someone did it.
Yeah.
And it was okay.
Yeah. I mean, we're just here to encourage anyone, and for us, like the Africans, we have in our mind, we feel like we don't have rights, especially when we travel abroad, especially when we're expats in other countries. We don't have rights. If you get to a particular job, you just feel like, okay, this is where I have to stay, no matter how they treat you, no matter when the term of your job description does not rhyme with what you're doing, but then you still stick to the job because you're afraid to speak up your mind, or you're afraid to change your job. I mean, there's a right way to do things. You have the right to change your job if it's not okay for you.
Definitely,
Yeah.
you do. But then, as I said, I would emphasize on the fact that it should be done in full compliance to the law,
Yeah.
so that you don't have problems in future. Because if you fail to respect the law, if you fail to follow the law of the country or the employment law, then you might find yourself in some very bad situation, which you won't be able to come out of.
Okay.
So it's important to know this, and it's important to respect even your current employer.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
even if they do not respect the contract terms and all of that, everything should be done in full respect.
Okay.
I never for a second disrespected my former employer because I felt uncomfortable. That is why I did everything in full respect
Yeah.
of the law.
Yeah.
I submitted my resignation letter. I continued to work for 22 days. And when the time was done, I walked to the office and I told them, okay, it is done. And that's when we parted ways.
Yeah.
And I had to move out of the company accommodation and rented an apartment for myself. And that was the next stage.
Yeah.
So it's possible to switch jobs, but you should do it in full compliance of the law.
Do it the right way.
Definitely.
So guys, that was the end of the video. I want to thank you all for taking your time to watch the video. I hope that the video gets to help and inspire you. Yeah, thanks for watching, and see you in another one. Bye.